So last month I quit my full-time job at a creative agency to go full-time as a content creator. And what I mean by content creator is that the majority of income that I make is made through creating content on social media. Specifically for me, that is running and cycling content. Now to clarify, I don't get paid anything by the platforms themselves like Instagram and TikTok, so the majority of income that I make is through working with and partnering with brands to create content. Now I'm nowhere near a professional athlete either, so I'm not sponsored in the traditional sense. Like I said, I just simply work with them to create content for social media. So with that being said, how did I get here? That is exactly what I want to talk about in today's video, but my journey from posting my first ever video to where I am at now, doing this full time with over 130,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram. So a bit of background about me: I am 29, I spent the last 3 years working at a creative agency in Manchester, and prior to that I worked at a media agency in Manchester as well. But as far back as I can remember, I've always considered myself to be somewhat of a creative person. I bought my first camera in 2016 and photography became one of my biggest passion points in life basically. I got massively obsessed with it for the last 7 years. Taught myself how to edit in Photoshop, in Lightroom, and all the basic photography fundamentals such as lighting, framing and so forth. So I am no stranger to using a camera. But anyway, where my initial interest in running stemmed from was actually a hiking trip I did with the lads in Chamonix. We were over there at the same time as the Golden Trail series, which is a pretty big trail running event that was taking place at Mont Blanc, where these people were running marathons through the mountains, just ridiculous things at the time that I could not fathom. And prior to that, I had zero interest in running, really did not think I would ever start it. But I came home from that holiday super inspired and wanted to give it a shot. And this was back in 2022. I had just started using TikTok, so I thought, why not document the process of starting out as a newbie runner? And that is when the account, That Newbie Runner, launched basically. I launched it in secret as well at the time. I didn't want anyone to see it because I was shit at running and shit at making videos. I would just take my phone out with me and record myself going on these like 2-kilometer runs, blowing out my arse and severely struggling, so I didn't think it was necessarily something that made me look very good. I used to get a lot of shit in the comments as well starting out on TikTok. I remember I would take out my hydration vest with me with some water in it and occasionally a gel on like a 5-kilometer run, and I'll just get rinsed in the comments for it. But I think that's part and parcel of putting yourself out there on the internet. It's always going to happen, regardless of the content you make. But anyway, yeah, the account had started to grow a couple of followers, and I thought it was time to reach out to a small brand and see if they would be interested in doing a gifting collab where they just send over some product and I feature it in a video, and they agreed to it. And that's when I started thinking, you know, might have legs on this account. And then from there I kept just doing what I was doing, making the videos, trying to get better at making the videos, learning the craft of what actually makes a good video, trialing different sorts of content, longer stuff, shorter stuff, things with voiceovers, things with just music, to see what sticks and trying to find my sort of style of video, so to speak. And then after about 7 months of posting content consistently on the TikTok account, alongside the full-time job, we'd grown to about 20,000 followers, and that is when I had my first email for a paid opportunity. So this was in April 2022. I had an email from an agency that was working with Adidas, and they wanted us to be involved in a Manchester Marathon campaign, and they were going to pay us like £2,000, I think it was from memory, for a couple of videos and to run the Manchester Marathon. When I read that email, I was absolutely gassed because I had spent so much time at this point making these videos over that 7-month period, purely getting like gifted collabs and stuff like that. I hadn't had anything paid until that moment, so that was fucking unreal when I got that email. I was so happy about it. So naturally, with that being the first paid opportunity I had, I put a lot of effort into the videos for that campaign, and they ended up doing pretty well, thankfully. Following on from that Adidas campaign, in the next few months we had more paid opportunities come through from, again, like mad brands like Lululemon, Coros, On Running. And I started to realise like this 100% does have legs, so I started to sort of double down on it basically. I would spend even more time doing the videos. I would invest money in kit to increase the production value so I could charge more. And generally I started to take it a bit more seriously, just become a little bit more savvy with it. And I'd started posting on Instagram as well, trying to grow the Instagram account so there was even more commercial value for a brand if I was to work with them moving forward. But posting on Instagram, where you have all the people from home and school and that sort of stuff, brings with it its own challenges, and you basically just have to get over that fear of what other people might think. But you know, at that point I'm pretty passionate about this and determined to make it work, so that drive to actually make something happen off the back of it outweighed the fear of what other people might think. So we just sort of got on with it. And you quickly realise with this sort of stuff, nobody actually cares. It just really ain't that deep. You can't let the opinions of others dictate what you want to do. Simple as that. So anyway, come October 2023, we had about 30k followers on Instagram and 80k on TikTok, and we had earned a really decent amount of money from creating the content and the partnerships, etc., alongside my full-time job. But I'd reached a point where I just had no life. Outside of working 9 to 5 and making the content, I just had no time. I would log off from the 9 to 5 and spend the next like 4, 5, 6 hours creating videos, editing videos, thinking of videos that I could do, and it was unsustainable really. At that same point, I was very, very lucky in that I was presented with 2 sort of longer term partnerships with some big brands on big campaigns that would cover me financially for the next few months, which was almost like the perfect opportunity to can the job and see what we can do going all in, because we'd made it so far on the accounts with a full-time job as well. So what would happen if I made the content my sort of #1 priority? So I thought it was like the perfect opportunity, and I had to take the leap, and I handed in my notice at my job in November time, I think it was. My last day was December the 1st, and since then this has been my full-time gig, and it's been a big lifestyle change for the better though, so far at least anyway. You know, it's not quite as stressful as a standard 9 to 5, I wouldn't say, but it comes with its own stresses, mainly financial, and the fact you have to financially support yourself through social media content, which it's not that easy to get budget from brands sometimes. So that's the biggest priority for me at the minute, just securing partnerships with brands that I want to work with for the year, so I can pay the bills and the rent basically. And the content I make is across running and cycling now. I started cycling earlier in the year, so there are kind of 2 streams of revenue that I should hopefully be able to generate this year, which is what I'm currently navigating. It's quite an interesting one, trying to secure budget from cycling brands. It's not quite as fruitful as running brands, I think we'll say. I think the last thing I'll say is, naturally, it does feel like a massive leap, quitting your stable job to do something like this that is so inherently unstable. But I think it just ain't that deep. Like, if this doesn't go well, or if for some reason I can't support myself, I can always just go back into a 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is going to be there tomorrow, it's going to be there next year. Sometimes you're just best off taking a shot at something, even if you fail. At least you'll know. I would rather give this a shot and fail than never try it and not know what would happen. I also have a solicitor girlfriend who can pay my rent for a while if this does go tits up, so that's a nice little comfort blanket.